was my attempt at being professional. And we're back for round 2.
So we should move on to the draft now.
Yes.
Move on to the draft. And I think before we get into Skippos' little analysis, perhaps spend a couple of minutes just talking about what we all think we need out of this draft.
Speed and a late boot.
I just wondered, do we want another defender at all? An inside mid.
Yes, inside mid and probably a key forward.
I'd like to see us go defender.
Because I think we've got a core of a really good defence there, but you still want to bring in talent when you can.
Or will the club stick with their best available 2?
Well, let's face it, we've only got one really elite defender, or key defender, and that's Talia. We've got a couple of blokes that could make it. Hardigan has been serviceable, and I'm a bit of a fan, but then it drops away fairly quickly. We've had guys with injury problems, Otten, Shaw, those sort of blokes, Jench. We've filled a few spots off half-back, but I reckon we light on one elite player down back still.
So you're discounting Laird as an elite player?
In terms of a key position player, absolutely.
He's a bit short.
Yeah, he's a bit short. Little garden gnome. Lever?
Yeah.
Probably plays a third ball.
I don't
See,
know
I
whether
actually-
he's
I
going
like-
to end up being a key defender, Nick. I'm not sure. I could be wrong.
No. It's going to be interesting to see if he can, but I see him more along the lines of that Ben Hart kind of mould. I think he can play on those bigger players, but I think there's a nice mix we've got there with Talia, Harding and Lever. They're all actually about the same height, but they've all got something different between each of them, which means that they can match up on the different forward lines that are around in the AFL.
Do we go a Tucker?
I could go with Tucker right now. Waffle?
Yes, and I just let that one go right over my head and through to the keeper.
Hi, Mrs. Nicky. Now, we have a couple of people here lined up, so we might just bring them in. Hang on a sec.
Oh, hello.
We have a caller.
Come on, Froggy, pick up.
He's having too much fun in the blender.
Oh,
Try Mr. Mystery Guest. No, that was a massive fail. Keep talking.
Treeman's just had a go at you, Phoenix, if you've seen. You apparently need
What'd
to
he
learn
say?
how to speak into the mic.
Oh,
You're
Jesus
apparently very
Christ.
quiet.
Just, Tree Man, I'm running the fucking studio. I'm running the fucking switchboard. I've got a mic that's echoing in my ear. I've got kids that are getting out of bed. Get stuffed.
Froggy apparently stepped on the dog. He's asking you to try again.
Froggy, just call in, mate. I'll answer when you're ready. And I'll try and speak into the frickin' mic.
and don't step on the bloody dog.
Come on, peoples. Come and talk to me.
I'm going to dislike everything that Tree Man writes from now on.
We don't have a dislike button, no. See?
I'm just kidding, by the way, Tree Man.
Hello?
Hello?
He's not ringing in. We'll hear him ringing. Let's just keep talking until Froggy gets organised.
No, we almost had a gate crasher.
Elster actually had a good point just there about Hardigan, and it's something that I've always liked, is that Elster said that Hardigan has great speed for his build, being a very useful trait, and all he really needs to do is spoil and free up our smaller guys with Talia. I think people actually underestimate how fast Hardigan actually is. And the other funny thing I actually saw was they put up Talia's, with his shocking hairdo, his draft video. And there's actually a moment where Hardigan passes to Talia.
Frogman.
Hello. How are you all?
Good
Hello.
evening.
Waffle, you're clicking like crazy at the moment.
Yeah,
I'm guessing you can hear me?
we
We can
can.
hear you. So this is
that
what a
works.
frog in a blender sounds like.
Yeah, well, after I've been in the blender and come out and been put back together again.
So how you going, mate?
Yeah, pretty
For those-
good. So it's
For those listening,
interesting.
this is Froggy with a flat dog.
And
I'm
it
very
is-
funny.
Yeah, what did you do
Yeah,
to the dog?
the dog was laying under the bed, half out, and as I got up, I stepped on the on her paw, unfortunately.
That'll have been a massive yelp.
It was.
Well, my cats have run away. I think they know what happens when there's a podcast on and they get ignored.
So, mate, what's
Fair
your take on Trade Week, Froggy?
I don't sort of get too involved with Trade Week. I always like to see us bring in some good players, but that's a bit of a hard ask.
And more importantly, what's your take on Alex? How many A-listers do you think he's got?
In question.
I haven't got too many.
No, we've already had Alex on, so we know what he sounds like.
Oh, well, I didn't hear that.
I think I
one.
was caught lying down at that stage.
Is he the
No,
trainer
Alex
dude?
is an interesting poster.
No, he's not the trainer dude, I don't think.
Well, the trainer
No,
dude
that's
was
a
full of
different
shit
guy.
too, wasn't he?
No, I don't think he was full of shit at all.
No, he had some good information.
Did he?
Yeah.
Straight from the horse's mouth.
Let's just say the source that I have confirmed some of the stuff he was saying is pretty spot on.
We didn't have Prince of Penzance,
So we
so
expect Parker next year.
Did anybody have Prince of Penzance?
My father did.
Only because I had a female jockey?
Yes.
So, Nikki, the male that you're talking about, is that Parker?
I'll just leave it at
No.
some of his information was great. No, I'm not going to say too much. I'm trying to think back to what I don't think it was quite Parker,
Well,
Parker's
but
not
some of
bad.
the other stuff he was spot on.
I'll let you off the hook. If I'm right, say Kylie, and if I'm wrong, say Danny.
I've got to remember back to this conversation.
Where are we going after Parker? Kylie or
Matthew
Danny?
Broderick.
What the hell is going on?
Hey, we're gonna get
That didn't get raised,
We're going to get
so
Sarah
I
Jessica.
wouldn't know.
Anyway, we got Froggy here, so we should take a question, mate. You got
This is
something
worse
from
than
the panel?
all the voices in my head.
Welcome to our Tuesday nights.
What do you got for us, Froggy?
Oh, yeah, I'm here. You're going to be sorely disappointed, I think.
Almost at a gate crasher.
Elster actually had a good point just there about Hardigan, and it's something that I've always.
Oh, Froggy, have you got your mix lift
Froggy.
feed on in the background?
Turn it off for his build of being a
Hang on.
Yeah, you'll have to mute that,
Or
mate.
really out there, smaller guys with Talia. I don't need to
that
hear
better?
myself again.
There we go.
Oh, it was me doing it.
So, okay,
Yeah.
then, Froggy. Yeah, that was you.
I was trying to read the stuff that's going on at the same time.
Don't do
You can't
that. You'll hurt
multitask,
yourself.
obviously. Okay, we were just discussing before you came on as to what we think the club's going to go for on the draft. What do you reckon they are?
As I say, I haven't really got much idea about drafts, so it's probably the perfect one to come on tonight.
That's all right.
But yeah, I think we are short up forward if Tex goes down again, God forbid, and certainly need another midfielder, I reckon.
Yeah, I don't know. We've got who have we got in the twos up forward? Nick,
McGovern.
is he going to come
Oh,
on?
Mitch
Yeah.
McGovern. Oh, God, yes.
McGovern,
He's-
Deer.
McGovern, Deer, Loudon's...
Loudon.
See, Loudon could be anything, but I don't know with him. At the moment, he's handy because he's actually decent in the ruck as well. But primarily it's Loudon and McGovern. And Ramsey we use as a swingman. So he can play forward and he can play back. And he really does look like Tex the way he moves out there, which is slightly scary.
So Gordon for the backup forward.
One of the big journos was saying on Twitter that we're pretty deep into Harry Mackay.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
Yeah, I've heard that as well.
Mm.
Yeah, I've heard we've had
I've just heard that.
all of his games.
Oh, now Skippos. I've heard a name and I don't know much about him, which is Balak.
Harley, yeah, he's I'm not a fan, so I'm not sure I'll give you a very balanced analysis of him. Very slow midfielder, basketball background, probably 6'1", 6'2", kind of like Pendlebury. He kind of makes time stop around him. He's got very good spatial awareness, composed, poised, just very, very, very slow. And he kicks moon balls. Knows where the goals are, but very accurate.
So he'd fit into our team very well then.
Another
That's what I was
trillion.
about to say.
At this stage, he's more outside than inside. So he's not another slow inside plotter.
So he's a slow outside plotter.
Pretty much. Think Jackson McRae from Western Bulldogs. Think kind of along those lines. Slow outside accumulator who kicks moon balls. Maybe a bit worse, obviously, but
Well,
he's an interesting player.
McRae has
Not
the
one I think
ability
we'll go
to
after.
find space.
Right. Pardon, what was that?
McRae has the ability to find space. He just always has time and space. And good players have the ability to do that, regardless of how fast they are.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
So you talk about Sam Mitchell.
But with
I'll need
McRae,
you for that.
you're right about him, but he doesn't take the game forward very much, which is his weakness. He kicks side to side, short kicks backwards, doesn't really ever penetrate into 450, which you want out of your midfielders, which is the same issue with someone like a Harley Balak. A lot of people will like him because they see he's very composed and stops time, but he's got some flaws as well, which is why we'll probably see him get picked after our second pick. I'm not sure he's someone we'll go after. I don't think he's really in the mix for our picks.
Well, I think you've just done a good job of selling our recruitment department on him.
I think it's actually a good time. And Froggy, we might let you go just for now, because I'm really interested, while we're not too late, to maybe Skippos, if you can give your top 10 and a bit of a rundown on each, and perhaps a feeling of which of those would probably fit into our squad the best.
Yeah, okay, no worries. Yeah, do you want me to include the Academy boys in that, or just we can take?
Yeah, I probably wouldn't worry about the Academy boys. And thanks, Froggy. Sorry to cut you short, mate, but I was just looking at the time, and with our thousands of listeners,
10 o'clock.
Yeah, it's 10 o'clock, so we better push along. So away you go, Skippos.
No worries. Well, number one, I've got Jacob Wiedering, who's I think pretty obvious, just the best key defender to come through the system, just elite rebound. I'd love to have him, but unfortunately, he'll be a blue bagger. Number two, Josh Shackey, just another dominant key forward, very similar to your Tom Boyds, your Tom Lynches from Gold Coast. Just powerful, kicks goals like crazy, very strong at ground level, takes good marks. Number three, Aaron Francis, our local boy. Now, there's talk going around that he's going to be the slide this year. He could slide to our pick 9 or even beyond it. So, safe to say, if he slides to our pick and we take him, I'll be partying all night.
What's the reason for that, Skippos?
I really don't know. It baffles me. He's a freak.
He looks like quality to
can't
me.
speak. Yeah, I guess the knock on him is that he's a tweener. He's not really a key defender, and he's kind of not a small defender either. He's in that third tall range. He also isn't the smartest with his running patterns. Like, he's got an elite kick. He's very good for speed, elite for agility. So you'd think the kick can go through the midfield and, Brendan Goddard or even, inside, outside, mid. But when he goes through there, he doesn't really look like a genuine midfielder. He's not accumulating well. He doesn't run to the right spots. He very much only works well when he's either running at the ball or zoning off an opponent to intercept. He doesn't really seagull outside, but his intercept marking, his contested marking is impeccable. His kicking is just elite over distance, short distance, decision-making, creativity, just fantastic. His agility testing from a year ago, he didn't do the combine this year with injury, but from a year ago, his agility would have been elite in this combine, and that's probably only improved. He can play forward, he can play back, kicks, bags, he's forward, just dominates when he's down back. As you can tell, I quite like him, so he's my third best. If we get him, I'll be absolutely stoked. But and there is every chance he'll be there for us. Number 4, we've got Darcy Parish, who just won't be there for us. Very inside-outside midfielder, great kick, composed, finds space, just does everything right. Number 5, I've got Reece Matheson, who's another one that's linked heavily to us. Oh, sorry, not linked heavily to us, but he will be there for our pick, I'm pretty sure. Probably our second pick. So I rate him a bit ahead of the curve here. Just a very consistent ball winner. Just goes in hard, extracts it. That's what you want. Kind of your Jordan Lewis, Lenny Hayes kind of player, which while he's not exclusive, he'd fit well into our midfield, give us some real ball winning. Number 6, I've got Wayne Malira. That said, I am cooling on him a bit of late. He's a very creative midfielder, half forward. Just when the moment he gets the ball, he knows everything that's around him, disposes of it so well, just spatially so aware. He's got the quickest hands I've ever seen. Just finds a way to hit targets he has no right to hit. Knows where the goals are. Not on him. He's not elite for speed. Often when you see these young Indigenous creative forwards, midfielders, you think they're lethal on the wings. Malira isn't that quick, and he's not an elite kick, he's only a good one, and he doesn't break the lines. You'd think a bloke like him would really run the ball. He rarely runs it. So at this stage, he doesn't really have a defined role. You put him in the midfield, and he's going to get you 15 touches, but he's not going to run the ball. You put him forward, and he's not like an Ed Betts goal sneak. He's kind of there. So he certainly needs to work on getting more of the ball. Number 7, I've got Charlie Curnow, who could be there for our pick 9, but probably not. He's a bit like your Jake Stringers and your Jack Darlings, your third tall forwards. Very powerful, very athletic in a lot of ways, has good endurance. He's already a man in size. He's 95 kilos and 6'3". So, but where the appeal with him is they think he can go into the midfield and be your prototypical inside midfielder, that big-bodied inside mid. Number 8, I've got Calamachi, who's I rate a bit ahead of most as well. I think he's more of a mid-teens, late-teens kind of pick. Will be there for our 13, I suspect. He's a bit like a Chad Wingard type, I guess. Like outside midfielder, half forward, elite, very kicks a lot of hangers. Knows where goals are. He's a really good kick. I just really like him. He's quick, does everything right. Just he hadn't had the greatest championships playing in a very average Western Australian side. Number 9, Kieran Collins, who's another will be probably one for you, Phoenix. He's a key defender. 6'4" and 100 kilos already, so he's already a man. Absolutely
Like that.
huge. He's definitely one for you, I reckon, if you're looking for a key defender.
What's his mobility
Yeah.
like?
He's got the turning circle of a Toyota Hilux, but it's not great.
So
He's
better
not
than Rutten then.
Rutten's probably a good comparison. He's probably about that. Maybe a little bit more agile, but not much. He'll stop his man in straight lines. He's good. Very physical. One-on-one, he's okay. He's got a better intercept game than a Rutten, better kick than Rutten, better offensively than Rutten, but probably shares a lot of the limitations that Rutten had defensively. That said, I do think he'll make a very good stopper at AFL level.
Better
And,
than three goals with his first 3 kicks.
He's played a bit for Collins as well, so he could be useful there. I suspect, unlike Rutten, he'll probably start back. And number 10, I've got Harry McKay, who's another one who we're linked to. The rumours are that we've been following him very heavily this year. Now, he's a bit of a wild card. He's 2 metres tall, so he's a big boy. Very, very athletic. He's quick, he's agile, very quick to get down to ground level, very clean at ground level, very narrow turning circle. He's a nice long left kick. He just probably lacks the physicality in his game at the moment. If he gets to run and jump at the ball, he'll bullock through anyone in his way. But in terms of just pure marking or that kind of stuff, he's a bit weak. Inside 50, he's not much of a threat. So most of his work is done between the arcs. He's kind of your higher centre-half forward at this stage. And he doesn't have that physical presence, that kind of strut about him. You know, your dominant key forwards have, they kind of command space. They force the ball to come to them. Harry doesn't have that yet. He's very much soft, both physically and mentally at this stage. So I guess he's my number 10, but thins out a bit after that.
So I was just reading an article on The Age that Emma Quayle wrote this afternoon about Aaron Francis, and I think that I'll be devastated if we don't end up with him after this. He is going to be an absolute star.
I certainly agree. There was a criticism of him because John Shackey, probably likely to go number 2, kicked 6 on him in the championships this year. So people are like, oh, maybe you can't defend, your typical Vic-centric box. And if you actually look at the footage of that game, you've got to consider that Francis is giving away 10 centimetres and 15 kilos to a bloke. And he's also got nobody else to help him in defence. Of those 6 goals, 5 of them were completely unavoidable goals that were on the counter. Only one of them really Francis made a mistake in. I think he actually almost got the better of Shackey that day. 1-on-1, he neutralised him. So, in defence, he's a gun. Went forward, kicked 4 goals, 5 in his only game forward. Just leads to the right spots. He's so quick, he gets separation. He got smart leading patterns. He's a bit of a shy kid, but when he steps over the white line, he's got a bit of mongrel about him, which you love. So, yeah, I'm in love with him. I just love him.
Right, so Skippos, can you just say from 1 to 10 just the names? So we've just got them all in a nice, neat little row for people to remember.
Yeah, no worries. Sorry about that. We'll go
No,
with
that was
one.
great.
No, it's good.
Oh, yeah, it's just probably could have been a bit more dice, but oh well. We've got number 1,
We don't
Jacob
do concise,
Wittering.
mate.
2, Josh Shackey. 3, Aaron Francis. 4, Darcy Parish. 5, Reese Matheson. 6, Wayne Malira. 7, Charlie Kerno. 8, Callum Archie. 9, Kieran Collins. And 10, Harry McKay.
And a couple of honourable mentions, mate.
Yeah, honourable mentions, okay. Well, we've got my 11th is Darcy Tucker, who's a line-breaking half-back wingman from North Ballarat. Before we brought in Seasman and Hampton, I thought we were a lock to go after him. He fitted our needs perfectly. Still does, I guess, if you've got more speed. He's a lovely player. Number 12 is Clayton Oliver and Rising. The real bulk of this year is he's won the Morris Medal, best in the TAC Cup. Very much a bullocking inside midfielder. Almost, he's not, but shades of Ollie Wines in there, if for comparison. And number 13, Ryan Clark. Another inside midfielder, but instead of being a bullocking one, he's more of a touch and feel kind of a... He has a good burst. He reminds me a bit of Jack Stevens from midfielder. Kind of bullocks in, wins the ball through his speed, breaks out, just a bit shaky by foot. And number 14 would be Riley Bonner, who I think he's got a lot of fans on the Rose board. He's a lovely long lefty. Also kicks very well off the right as well.
He's
Takes
the other
game
Westies
on.
boy, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a Westies boy, son of Derek. So he's a lovely player. I suspect he ends up at Hawthorn. He's a typical Hawthorn player. And then number 15 is another boy that I really like and would love to have higher in Ryan Burton, who we're also linked with for 13. He's come off of a horrific leg break. There's an article on him on the AFL website today, Going Places, where Cal Toomey has focused on him, on the recovery, on the rehabilitation. I mean, this time last year, just before he did his injury, Burton was easily a top 2 or 3 player. He played SANFL for North as a 16-year-old. He's just an excellent player. I feel so bad for him for doing that knee or upper leg, because if not for that, he really could have been number 1, number 2, number 3 at the worst. He was that. And if his leg gets right and we get him, watch out, because he's got something about him.
I've heard that the leg may not come back 100%.
It's probably likely. He just to give some perspective, he broke it right at the top of his lower leg, so just below the knee, and he absolutely shattered it. So it's not like it was a compound fracture in the tibia like you normally see, where the bones are popping out and you just kind of crack it back in and she'll be right. More of a really hard to fix area, really awkward area. Lots of load bearing through that kind of upper lower leg, I believe. He also did a lot of knee stuff with it, dislocated his kneecap. But yeah, he's been out for 15 months already. Hasn't played for that long, but he still did all right in his combine testing. 0.09 20-metre sprint, which ranks him in the bottom 35%. Put it in perspective, Jake Lever ran a 3.3, which is the bottom 2%, or there or thereabouts. So Burton's considerably quicker this year than Lever was last year, and both had come off a lot of time out of the game. He also ran a 12-minute 3K, which is okay for someone who hasn't been able to put any weight on that leg for a long time. So he looks like he's getting a lot better.
So you wouldn't think that we could afford to take 2 guys 2 years in a row who have come back from serious injury in their draft year.
Why not? I mean, it's pretty clear that it worked for Jake Lever. We've
Yeah,
got a
to
proven
me-
record in doing it. And so it worked for Lever. We've proven that we back ourselves in on talent, back our medical staff in, back our development staff in to get them working through it. I mean, why not? That said, he is a local boy. A lot of his work on his leg was done by Matthew Liptak. So we do have the connections, being an ex-Crow. If we pass on him, you know why. Because we will have checked out, we've done our due diligence and all of that. Just while I'm also here, I've just noticed that Vance is unhappy that I've neglected Sam Wiedemann. Probably because Wiedemann isn't very good.
You've been told, Vance.
Yeah, he's very overrated. He could go number 3 this year. He could be vaulting. There are clubs desperate for a key forward. He's a jack of all trades, master of none. Probably the best way to describe him. He's a good contested mark. He does know how to do that, but the weaknesses are longer than the strengths. He's got no fitness base, lacks work rate, defensive work ethic is very average. He's a terrible shot for goal, and his leading patterns are questionable. Also hasn't played much football this year with injury. So
he'd fit in really well at Carlton.
Yeah, correct. I'd love to see him go there.
He'd be a lock there.
Yeah, well, he'd be a lock for the Northern Blues development side, you'd hope. But yeah, he's
Right.
a lot of people like him, but apart from the fact that he's a good pack mark, and he is a very good pack mark, there's not much else about him. I mean, there aren't that many players this year, or any year, that succeed just purely being good at contested marking. You've got to have more strings to your bow. You've got to have work rate. You've got to have a bit of physicality about you. You've got to have some skills, and unfortunately, Wiedemann lacks skills. He's pretty average for athleticism, has an average work rate. I can't see him being elite. I can see him being an okay role player at best. So why'd you waste a top 10 pick on him?
Wouldn't it be ironic if Melbourne picks up Wiedemann at number 3 and he ends up being a dud?
It'd be typical Melbourne, wouldn't it?
It'd be true to form then, Oz.
Although
There's every
it does
chance Melbourne
sound-
pick him up.
It does sound very much like they're gonna take Parrish with number 3.
Yeah, that's the word going around. But
You
There's
really
also
feel
some
for any
murmurings that he
kid that
goes
gets
through.
drafted by Melbourne now. Don't you just feel for any kid that gets drafted by Melbourne?
they're on the way up. Christian Petrarca is incredible. So when we see him next year, watch out. I mean, he'll lift that team on himself. He's that good.
Yeah, but is that actually to do with him and anything to do with the development at Melbourne? I think Melbourne's kind of proven that their development skills are lacking.
You look at the players that Melbourne have failed to develop, and a lot of them, they required development. I mean, it sounds like a very strange statement, but blokes like Trengo, he came into the system needing to improve on his athleticism, his conditioning, certain things he was weak at. They have drafted poorly. Jimmy Tumpus, he needed to work on his composure and his special awareness. They weren't able to do that. The difference is Petrarca is entering the system as somebody who already has so many elite tools. I mean, this is a kid who's elite for speed. He's a thumping kick. He is huge. He's wide. He's strong. But even though he's carrying 100 kilos or so, despite only being 6'1", he's also the most agile player going around. He's too good to fuck up. If that makes sense. There is no way. If Petrarca doesn't make the grade, they need to clean out Melbourne. Everyone. He's just that good.
But what you've said before, those other two players, those things were easily fixable, and it all comes down to coaching. And
but you've got
they
someone
couldn't do
like
it.
Hogan, who sounds very similar in terms of his level of development, Skippos, and he's my favourite player actually out of all the young lads in the AFL at the moment. And he came in and just looked like he belonged, and it sounds like this lad's going to be much the same.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. You look at Brayshaw as well. I mean, Brayshaw stepped in this year and looked like he belonged. Oscar McDonald got some games late in the year, looked like he belonged. It might be jumping the gun, but I think Melbourne have fixed what was wrong with it. I think their development looks a lot better now.
Carlton would be the new whipping boys, wouldn't they?
You hope
Who?
so. Bloody hate 'em.
Carlton, yeah.
Oh, easily.
Yeah. So, anything down the bottom end, Skippos? It tails off pretty quick, I know. Are there any under-the-radar types like a Sloaney?
Oh, there always are. I've certainly got my eye on a few. There are some definite diamonds to be had late, I'll tell you that much. I mean, yeah, it is stabbing in the dark after pick 30. There are some diamonds. Might go over one or two if you'd like to hear about them.
Yeah, for sure, mate.
Okay, well, here's my definite favourite, South Australian boy, as you'd expect, from West Adelaide, Jaden Bryn. Not sure if you've heard of him. He's a Sacred Heart boy. He's at about 5'11", 90 kilos or so. So he's a big boy. He's got a lot of puppy fat. So that's held him back this year because the fitness and the application clearly is lacking. And that's why he's not been spoken about, because he needs to work on his commitment. There were some rumours going on about him that he was rocking up with a few poorly conditioned, some training sessions, late, had a big night in the town, that kind of stuff. But as a player, it's Dane Swan Mark II. I mean, he just knows how to find the ball inside and outside. He's got power. He runs to the right spots. He wins his own ball. He just knows where the goals are. Does so much right. He's an all right kick. He's just powerful, smart. He gets you through the midfield. You got to watch him to get you forward. But because of his drawbacks with his fitness and his application, he's more of a rookie chance. But I've got him in my top 25 on talent. Yeah, he's excellent. Another South Australian boy, Jordan Dawson. Probably wouldn't have heard of him. He unfortunately got concussed in the first game of the championships. Then he came back in the fourth game and did his back in the second quarter. So he really hasn't had that much exposure.
How do you do your back?
I don't know how he did it, but I was watching it and he was just sitting in the goal square all day because he couldn't move. So he's a talent.
Backs are notorious, Danos. You probably injured it well beforehand. It's just then you do one slight little movement later, and that's when it pings.
Okay.
I did a back. It kept me out of footy for 2 years, Danos. So they're weird things.
I've always... Hello?
Yeah, you're there, mate.
Yeah, hello.
But okay, just assuming Danos has gone AWOL, just continue my
keep going, mate.
My rant on Jordan Dawson. He played the back end of the season in the league side Sturt. He played a very similar role to your Tom Lynch, kind of third tall forward, roaming up and down field, connecting the offence and the defence. He did a pretty good job of it. Gets a lot of the ball, takes a lot of uncontested marks, knows where the goals are. He'd go down and play reserves early in the year and he was kicking bags. I think he had a bag of 4, 5, 6 and 7. And they weren't just bags, it was like 6 goals, 5, that kind of stuff. He was having 10 to 15 shots a game. And this is the reserves level, which is still a pretty handy level. I mean, plenty of AFL players get drafted straight out of the reserves. But Dawson missed the championships, so he didn't really get much attention. Wasn't nominated for the combine, so maybe the clubs aren't looking at him. But he's a 6'3", 6'4" type kind of third tall forward. And from what I've seen, he's certainly got the game to play AFL. Just trying to think who else is on the radar late. I guess I got another local boy, Kieran Agius. He's a very talented footballer who doesn't apply himself. He was in the AFL Academy, but ended up being dropped in the championships because he wouldn't work on defence, I don't think. But he's the best kick in the draft. I think he's an Indigenous boy or something. I think he's Indigenous. But he runs the ball, dead eye, shot for goal, lovely kick. He's a very mercurial player. If he applies himself, could be absolutely anything. So that'd be my 3 to watch.
My
Now, it'd be
impression is that
interesting
might
to
be
see.
Sorry, Nikki, go on.
No, it just would be interesting to see how many of those then get out of those 3 if they do get picked up, or whether they make it round through the rookie.
I reckon all might be there in the rookie. There might only be 50 picks this year, if not less. 45 or 50 live picks. So I would suspect that a lot of the players we're talking about make it through to the rookie.
Any mature ages on the radar for later on in the draft?
Sorry, I missed that, mate.
Any mature ages down the bottom end that you might be aware of?
Yeah, there's a few this year. I think partially because clubs are looking at alternative talent, given the shyness of the pool. I keep hearing the name Michael Hartley. He's a tall defender from Coburg, 198 centimetres. He used to be on Collingwood's rookie list as part of the New South Wales scholarship scheme, similar scheme to what we got Taylor Walker with. But they cut him after 2 years. He just got injured. But he's gone back to the VFL and in some really good seasons. We keep getting linked with him. He's a ready-made player. He can come in round 1 next year and do a job. I wouldn't mind seeing us have a look at him. Chris Jensen, inside midfielder, or inside-outside midfielder from Central Districts. He's only 20, but he just gets lots of the ball. We might be able to look at him being a local boy. Tom Keogh from West Adelaide, another general, maybe second tall defender. Just reads the play very, very well. Complement our defence nicely. And trying to think, anyone else? No, I think that's about it for the mature ages.
That's a really good wrap, mate.
Yeah, be interesting to see. Hopefully, we'll get you back from when we do the post-draft podcast.
Shit, we're doing another one? Now, Danos, are you there, mate?
Yep.
Do you want to just have a quick chat about this this point system? Because you seem to be all over it.
Yep. What do you want to know?
Everything.
We've only got how many minutes?
Oh, we got plenty of time.
All right. So the main point around it is if
Question without notice, sorry.
yeah, in previous years, when a team has had an academy or father-son player coming through, an opposition club could bid on them, and then with whatever their next pick was, the club could pick them up with a pick. That became obviously a little bit unfair when you had teams like Bulldogs picking up Wallace in round 2 and Liberatore in 3. Those guys probably would both go for mid-teens picks nowadays. Heaney last year was bid on with pick 2 by Melbourne, and Sydney only had to pay with pick 18. So that was seen as pretty unfair to the rest of the competition. So they've brought in this point system. So every draft pick is worth a certain amount of points. And if a team bids on a player, then the team that's going to pick him up has to use their picks that they've got with a 20% discount to make up the numbers so that they essentially purchase that pick. So if this year we've got five academy and father-son players, or all academy, I think. GWS has got Hopper, and the other name escapes me at the moment.
Matthew Kennedy.
Kennedy, thank you. Brisbane have got Keys, Hipwood, and possibly another guy.
Reuben Williams.
Ruben Williams probably not going to be until mid-30s or 40s, though, isn't he?
Oh, I would be surprised if he was in the 20s. He's a very good player.
There you go.
He'll cause some complications.
And then, of course, you've got Callum Mills for Sydney. So Sydney gets 2 top midfielders in 2 years without having the picks to pay for them. But, of course, the trade period has meant that we've ended up with a whole lot of teams trading for draft pick points rather than players or draft picks. Although it looks like 1 or 2 of those teams has stuffed up that process. If Melbourne gets their groove on, which is almost likely, they may bid for all of Hopper, Kennedy, and Mills with their pick number 3. So that means that Sydney and GWS are going to have to pay through the nose, and will end up using up essentially all of their picks in the first couple of picks. Now, one of the criticisms that people have been having is it means that our pick 9 is going to drop down to, it could possibly drop down to pick 14. It doesn't actually matter to us, because those players that are going to get bid on before our pick were never going to be ours anyway.
They were gone anyway.
All it means, yeah, that's right. So we've still got access to the 9th best available player in the draft. There's no difficulty in that. It may help our pick 13. I can't remember what GWS's picks lie anymore. They had 7 and 8 at one stage. I don't think they've got either of those now, do they? They've got pick 10, maybe.
Yeah.
Anyway, look,
I think 10.
it may mean that we have one less pick in between ours because GWS has to move up the order to pay for their players. So what I was banging on about in the trade thread throughout the trade period was that the benefit of having 2nd and 3rd round picks this year was not in being able to pick up players, but it was, in being able to trade with GWS and Brisbane and Sydney to give them more points that they would use to pay for their players. We didn't end up doing that because we had other agenda to deal with. But you can see a lot of the trades just seemed a little bit nonsensical if you looked at it from prior years' points of view. But this year, because of the point system, it made complete sense to those other teams. So there's one thing that I noticed in our chat room before. Someone was talking about the academy players not being talked about by Skippos. I thought it would have been interesting to get his point of view on where they might fit into the order and who he thinks may bid on them. Because I suppose it depends on what players are available at the pick and whether the academy players are better than those players. Did that make any sense, Phoenix?
Absolutely, that was fantastic. Fair to say we may well have, along with most other teams, missed the boat this year on pick trading or underestimated the value.
I don't think so. I've got a feeling Noble was talking about these sort of things behind closed doors. But the fact that we had our picks were all seemed to be so planned out in what they were going to be used for that it just didn't work out. And as I said earlier in the podcast, we had 13 and 28 at one stage, and it only ever looked like we were going to use 2 picks with one upgrade. And we probably would have used 28 and 13 to get ourselves a better pick. And even if it was pick 10 or 11, it might have been pick 8 if we could have got it from GWS before they traded it off to someone else.
Yeah.
I guess it's a matter of the circumstances. It didn't work out. But the other thing is, in future years, then there's not going to be 15 or 20 academy and father-son players like there is this year. So it's likely that this is a one in a decade or one in even 20 years that this sort of thing is going to happen with the point system.
Unless, of course, they expand on the academy concept, which I reckon is likely, actually. So we may see more academy picks as clubs are allowed to sort of, develop their own pool of talent.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's been quite a bit of talk about it because obviously people like Eddie Maguire are unhappy with the fact that they don't have their access to elite juniors like these northern teams have.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that all develops, actually. Skippos, do you want to weigh in with a bit of a quick rundown on those academy players that Danos was talking about?
Yeah, sure. I'll say my 2 cents. It's what's interesting about the academy system, actually, just as a side note. Essentially created 2 markets. You've got a market for picks and a market for players. So this year, late second round picks were overvalued by the picks matrix and undervalued by the market. So that's why you've got Brisbane having 5 picks in the late 30s. It's fascinating now. They've essentially artificially created a separate market during trade week. It's going to cause absolute chaos over the next few years. Watch this space. It'll go down worse than the last system. I'll give you that much. Regarding the academy players, I think they are worth the hype. You've got Callum Mills from Sydney. This stage last year, he was consensus number 1. Not anymore. He's had shin splints all year, so hasn't really played much football. Just a very talented inside midfielder. Wins his own ball so effectively. Overhead, he's elite. He's a handy athlete. Just not a great kick. Jacob Hopper. He's the closest thing I've seen to Brad Crouch since Brad Crouch. Explosive inside midfielder. Wins his own ball. Breaks out of the stoppage. Just knows where the goals are. Every chance he's the best midfielder to come out of this draft. I'd actually say he will be. Matthew Kennedy is my personal favourite of the bunch. He's not as highly rated as the other 2, but he really is very good. He's come a very different path. He's played club football with his brothers in the Riverina. He hasn't played any TAC Cup football, so he's kind of been scouted out of club football. Missed championships with a knee injury, so we actually haven't seen much of him. But he's just a very smart runner, knows where the ball is, finds it, excellent overhead. He's just a very pure footballer, very good ball winner. Then you've got Brisbane. They've got Eric Hipwood, who's I think a 202 centimetre key utility. Can play forward. I think he's better back. A very athletic player. He'll probably go around pick 10, pick 12. And Ben Keith, who's a very gifted accumulator, inside and out, knows where the goals are. I don't think he's as good as the other 4, probably more a 15 to 20 type for mine, but he could go higher depending on who likes him. Just a bit with the ball for mine, not as powerful, not as smart, not as great a kick as he'd want. Trying to think of some other prospects. Probably Harry Himmelberg is the other one who could go top 25 to 30. Volatile, could go 20, could go 50. He's an athletic kind of third tall, a bit like your Cam McCarthy from Western Sydney, but he's a mature age player, so certainly an interesting one. They're probably your major academy players, along with Ruben William, what we about a bit earlier. Sudanese kid, very, very quick, breaks the lines, just a bit shaky by foot. Another Sudanese kid, Marbior Chol, who could be anything. Just an incredibly talented athlete. Kind of 6'6", I reckon, 198. Can play forward, back, or ruck. Elite leap. Has a handy kick. There was a game earlier in the year where I think he kicked 4 goals in the first half in a trial game. And he honestly looked like Buddy Franklin, the way he ran, the way he played. But since then, he hasn't recreated that. But he genuinely looked like Lance Franklin. So who knows what he'll be. And he and William are both Sudanese kids tied to the Brisbane Academy. With the main one. Next year, it's a bumpy year for Western Sydney. they've got probably 6 top 20 players in their academy. One will be a top 5, Harrison McCready, and they've got 5 others who could end up in the top 20. So that'll cause a lot of problems with academies and picks and the like. Yeah, so if we thought this year was hectic, it'll get worse next year with Western Sydney's crop.
Well, as Vance just pointed out on the chat, we've got about 3 minutes to go. So just a final word from everyone, and then we might just wrap it up for the night, I think. I guess from me... Sorry, go on, Dennis.
No, that's right. You go first.
No, I was just going to say, for me, it's going to be very interesting to see what our strategy is on draft day. As I said earlier, I hope we do go defender with one of our picks at least. But with the academy players and with the draft being so shallow, it's going to be quite interesting to see how we go. So what do you reckon, Dennis?
I'd be...
Sorry, Nikki.
Go, Nick.
No, I'm just going to be really interested to see if we actually bid on any of those academy players at all, and who the other clubs do, and what's this going to mean for the draft. It's going to be, I think, an interesting night.
Well, as I was saying before, I can see clubs who need players in specific positions who feel that there's better players available at their pick, who are academy players. They're going to be the clubs that bid on it because they're the ones who... Sorry? Did someone say something?
No, I think that was Echo.
So, as I was saying with pick 3, I can see Hopper, Kennedy and Mills all being bid on because they would think that they're better than Parrish. So I can see that happening. Anyway, I'm incredibly excited about the fact that we've got 2 first-round picks for the first time
have we
ever.
been automatically kicked out?
No, we've still got
Phoenix?
2 minutes to go.
It says that there's a Heroes Out track that's playing.
Yeah, it might say that that's playing, but it's silent right now. You just let me do the production, okay?
Okay, sorry.
Now we've got 1 minute 45. Go, go, go.
So anyway, I'm really excited. I trust our guys, and I hope we do well.
Awesome.
Get some tickets for the draft, guys. They're free.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Certainly
trying
get
to
around
do.
them.
Yeah, we could
Yeah, how much does it cost again?
broadcast live.
They're free. So it's
I'm hoping to go.
afl.com.au/draft/tickets, and they're free. You get, I think it's 2 per person. Absolutely free.
Well, on that note, Skippos, mate, it's been great to have you on. Your knowledge of the draft and the youngsters in the system is invaluable, and it adds to the discussion that we have. So thanks very much for being there. And to the rest of us,
Much appreciated.
that was a lot of fun. So,
It was.
No final word, Waffle?
oh yeah, Waffle, where are you?
No, he might cough.
I've
Give us
been
a final
snoring a
meme.
fair bit.
Final word, Waffle, quick.
Final word is we'll take the best 2 available.
Aw.
All right. Thanks to the guys for listening to us. It's been awesome fun. And
National Tiles.
National Tiles.
Tiles.
That was classic.
And yeah, we'll be back after the draft. Someone suggested maybe a draft night cast, so we'll see what we do. But thanks for your support, guys, and we'll see you on the boards. Nighty.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night.
Anybody